So somewhere out there right now, there is a version of you.
Oh, yeah.
And this version is, well, they're just calmer, they're stronger, they are, like, significantly more disciplined.
Right, the idealized version.
Exactly. They're out there basically living the exact life you keep promising yourself you're going to start, next Monday.
Next Monday. It's always next Monday, right? It's a really tantalizing image to hold on to.
It totally is. But here is the uncomfortable truth that we were just going to jump right into today. That version of you, they aren't hiding behind some giant dramatic transformation.
No, not at all.
Like getting to that version of yourself, it doesn't actually require you to quit your job overnight or, run away to join a monastery or have this massive cinematic breakdown that forces you to change your life.
Right, because we are so heavily conditioned by media to expect that movie-style montage.
Oh, the training montage.
Yeah. Exactly, where the protagonist makes one big life-altering decision, and then everything just perfectly falls into place in, like, 90 seconds of screen time with a really great soundtrack.
Right. But the reality's completely different, and honestly, it's infinitely more practical. So today, we are doing a deep dive into this fascinating document we got our hands on. It's called the 1% Manifestation Rule Script.
Yes, and it's a really incredible read.
It is. And our mission for this deep dive is pretty simple. We are going to strip all the mystical, the woo-woo fluff away from this whole concept of manifestation.
Which is much needed, honestly.
Oh, definitely. We're going to look at the actual hard neuroscience behind how these tiny, incredibly boring 1% daily changes literally rewire your brain and transform your reality.
Yeah, it's about moving from that abstract fantasy to the actual biological mechanics of change. It completely shifts the paradigm of how we approach personal growth.
Okay, let's unpack this, because if you spend any time on social media, you have definitely seen the viral version of manifestation.
Oh, the vision boards.
Yes, the vision boards. It's the influencers telling you to just, close your eyes, feel the feeling of wealth, and just think it into existence.
Right.
And the source material today points out a massive, a really fatal flaw in that entire approach.
It does. And that flaw really comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of what the human brain actually is, biologically speaking.
Right.
The popular manifestation movement, it treats the brain like it's this magical wish fulfillment engine.
Yeah.
The whole implication is that if you just send the universe a strong enough desire, your brain will magically output your desired reality. But the brain is not a wish fulfillment engine.
No.
From an evolutionary standpoint, it's a prediction engine.
A prediction engine. Okay, let's break that down for the listener. What does that actually mean for their daily life?
Well, it means that your brain's primary job is to anticipate what is going to happen next, right? So it can keep you alive.
Just basic survival.
Exactly. And predictions, they are built exclusively from patterns of actual historical behavior, not from, imaginative mental images.
So the daydreaming doesn't count.
It really doesn't. So if you want, say, a stronger body, simply imagining muscle doesn't build a single neural pathway for the physical habits you actually need to get it.
Right.
Wanting financial security or visualizing this huge bank balance every morning, it doesn't actually create the spending discipline or the income-generating skills. The brain only rewires itself based on hard, undeniable evidence.
Evidence.
Yes. And that evidence only ever comes from repeated physical action.
Okay, I understand the mechanics of needing evidence, but honestly, making a vision board is really fun.
It is.
It feels amazing to just sit there, drink your coffee and imagine crossing the finish line. It gives you this huge rush.
A dopamine hit, yeah.
It's exactly. Are you saying that feeling of motivation is just completely scientifically useless? Because if visualizing the end result feels so incredibly good, why does it completely fail us the second Monday morning rolls around, the alarm goes off, and it's raining outside?
That is the big question.
Yeah.
And it's because feeling a feeling doesn't create a structural change in your gray matter.
Okay.
We have to look at neuroplasticity, which is the brain's physical ability to update and rewire itself based on what you actually do.
What you do, not what you think.
Exactly. And the source material uses a brilliant analogy here that visualizes this perfectly. So think of your neural pathways like a hiking trail through the woods.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The very first time you decide to do something new, say working up early to work out or sitting down to study a new language, it is like walking through completely unbroken grass and really thick brush.
Oh, so it's awful.
It's terrible. It's slow, it's annoying, and it requires a tremendous amount of conscious effort. You're out there having to push every branch out of your way. Your brain is expending massive amounts of energy just to do the thing once.
Right?
But if you walk that exact same path 50 times, what happens to the grass?
Well, I mean, it gets trampled down. It turns into a clear dirt path. You don't even have to look at your feet anymore.
Yes. And that is incredibly close to what is actually happening at the cellular level with your neurons.
Really?
Yeah. When you repeat an action, your brain actually physically coats those specific neural connections in a fatty layer called myelin.
Myelin. Okay, so it's essentially like biological insulation.
That's a really great way to think of it. Myelin wraps around the neural pathways, and it acts just like the rubber insulation on a copper wire. It makes the electrical signal travel faster and far more efficiently. And that is what flattening the grass actually is. Every single time you show up for that workout, or you choose to have the hard conversation instead of avoiding it, you are walking the trail, and you're adding another layer of myelin.
So you're literally building the road.
Literally, you cannot just think a new trail into existence. You have to physically walk it until the brain insulates it so thoroughly that it stops treating the action as this, like, effortful chore, and it starts treating it as an automatic part of your identity.
Okay, so building the trail takes brutal physical repetition. I get that. But that doesn't explain the weird phenomenon where you decide you want something and suddenly the universe just seems to hand it to you on a silver platter.
The magical synchronicity.
Yeah. Like, we all know someone who said, I'm focusing on finding a new job, and then 3 days later, a recruiter messages them out of nowhere.
Right.
Are those people just lying about how easy it was? Like, if it's all about grueling behavioral change, why does it sometimes look like literal magic?
Well, when we look at the brain's internal hardware, it's not magic at all. It is a highly specific biological filtering system.
Okay.
It's called the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
The RAS.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dig into that, because this seems to be the bridge between the mystical side of manifestation and the hard science.
It absolutely is. The RAS is a tiny network of neurons, and it's located right at the base of your brainstem.
Okay.
And at any given second of your life, your senses are just being bombarded by millions of bits of data. Sights, sounds, smells, the feeling of your clothes on your skin, the hum of the refrigerator in the background.
Just constant noise.
Constant. If your conscious mind had to process all of that information simultaneously, your brain would literally short circuit.
Right.
So the RAS acts as a biological bouncer at the door of your consciousness.
A bouncer. I love that.
Yeah, it filters out almost everything and decides which tiny microscopic fraction of data is actually important enough to reach your conscious awareness.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the text compares this internal brain filter to something every single person listening to this experiences on a daily basis.
Yes.
It operates exactly like a smartphone algorithm.
It is the absolute perfect modern equivalent.
Like, think about the apps on your phone. You watch one specific video about, say, restoring vintage watches.
Right.
And you didn't even mean to. You just kind of lingered on it for 5 seconds.
Right.
Suddenly, your entire feed turns into a watchmaking workshop.
It's everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you like one post about a new productivity app, and for the next week, every third advertisement you see is for a to-do list. The algorithm didn't suddenly create new watch content or productivity software out of thin air.
No.
It just changed what it showed you based on what you implicitly told it was important.
Sure.
And your brain's RAS does the exact same thing, but in the physical world.
It curates your reality based on your stated parameters.
Like, you decide you want to buy a very specific model of a car, and you want it in a specific shade of blue. Suddenly, that exact blue car is at every single stoplight.
Yeah.
Or you learn a new word on Tuesday, and by Friday, you have heard it used in 3 different conversations. Nobody bought more of those cars overnight.
No.
People didn't secretly conspire to start using that specific word around you. The world didn't change its composition at all. Your biological filter changed.
And this is where manifestation stops being mystical nonsense and starts being a highly exploitable biological tool.
Right.
When someone says, I'm manifesting a new business venture, and suddenly they see an opportunity, the opportunity was always sitting right there.
It didn't just appear.
No, there was a gap in the market or a complaint nobody had solved, and they probably walked past it 10 times a day for years. But before, their RAS just deleted that information because it wasn't relevant to their survival or their goals.
Wow.
But once their intention shifted, the filter shifted, and the data was finally allowed into their conscious mind.
But the document is incredibly firm on one specific point here. Noticing the opportunity is where the popular manifestation advice just completely drops the ball. It just fails people.
Oh, utterly fails them. The popular advice tells you that noticing the synchronicity is the finish line, like the universe has delivered.
Right, you saw the sign.
Exactly. But noticing an opportunity is absolutely not the same thing as possessing the capacity to take advantage of it.
So true.
Wanting the result isn't the same as building the skill. Visualizing the successful business doesn't do the really unglamorous work of building the spreadsheet. The real formula isn't think, then receive.
Right, the document outlines a very grounded step-by-step formula. And I want to slow down here and really break this apart for the listener because the gap between some of these steps seems massive.
Yeah.
Walk us through that chain of events.
Okay, so the biological chain of transformation starts with intention.
Intention.
That is you consciously telling your brain, this is what matters now, adjust the filter.
So updating the algorithm.
Yes. Step 2 is attention. That's your RAS turning on and actively surfacing the signals, the blue cars, and the opportunities you used to ignore.
Okay. Cases.
Then step 3 is action. And action is the critical pivot where you take that noticed opportunity and you turn it into a physical movement. You send the email. You do the push-up.
And this is where the manifestation crowd usually stops. Like, I did the thing.
Right. But the formula keeps going.
But it has to.
It has to because one action doesn't build a hiking trail.
Right.
Step 4 is repetition. This is taking that one action and doing it enough times to start wrapping the myelin around the neural pathway.
Laying the insulation.
Exactly. Then step 5 is adaptation, where your brain and your physical behavior actually reshape themselves around the new pattern. The behavior finally becomes automatic.
Okay.
And finally, step 6 is results. Results are just what that entire biological chain looks like from the outside, months or years down the line.
Wow. Intention, attention, action, repetition, adaptation, results. It is a phenomenal, really logical sequence.
It is.
But looking at that list, getting from action to repetition sounds absolutely exhausting.
That's the hardest part.
That is the chasm where dreams go to die.
Yeah.
It just sounds like an endless grind, which is honestly exactly why most people fail to change. Like, how on earth are we supposed to survive that repetition phase without completely burning out and reverting to our old habits?
Well, this brings us to the core thesis of the deep dive and how we hack the brain's resistance. We use the 1% survival strategy.
The 1%.
Right. The text makes this incredibly compelling mathematical and biological case for why 1% beats 100% every single time.
Yeah, the document paints this hilarious and honestly deeply relatable picture of two different people on January 1st.
Oh, yes.
So person A writes up a plan that belongs in like a superhero movie montage. They decide they're going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. They're going to do a 90-minute high-intensity workout, then a 3-minute cold plunge, then meditate for half an hour.
Sounds exhausting already.
Right. And they're going to meal prep all their organic food from scratch.
Right.
Oh, and they're going to launch a profitable side hustle by March.
We all know person A.
We do.
And we know that by January 9th, that plan is entirely dead.
Dead, buried, and they are right back to eating takeout on the couch. And to be honest, I am definitely guilty of being person A.
I think we all are.
Seriously, 2 years ago, I bought like $300 worth of pristine glass Tupperware for this Sunday meal prep identity that lasted exactly 6 days.
6 days.
6 days. It's exhausting. But the text says it's not actually because person A lacked willpower or moral fortitude.
No, it has nothing to do with willpower.
Yeah.
Person A failed because that plan required a neural version of themselves that literally did not exist yet.
Wow.
The myelinated pathways for all of those complex behaviors just hadn't been built. They were trying to sprint through a dense jungle of unbroken grass, and they expected it to feel like a paved highway. The cognitive load was just too immense.
And you have person B.
Right, person B.
And person B picks a plan that is almost insultingly small. It is so small, it's kind of embarrassing to even tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
Like 5 push-ups a day, reading 2 pages of a physical book, tracking exactly 1 financial expense. But person B does it every single day.
Consistency.
Right? Through a bad week at work, through a messy breakup, when they're totally exhausted and have a cold, and 6 months later, person B has completely transformed their baseline, while person A is right back where they started, probably buying more Tupperware.
Exactly. Person B wins the long game because they built a system designed to survive an ordinary, highly imperfect human life.
I mean, I get the concept of making it easy. I do.
Right.
But I have to ask on behalf of the listener, isn't 5 push-ups literally too small to actually matter?
It seems like it, right?
Seriously, if I drop down right now and do 5 push-ups, my heart rate barely changes. I'm not even breaking a sweat. Does the brain even register something that physically insignificant as a change?
To understand why 5 push-ups works, we have to look at the brain's threat detection system. Specifically, a really small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala.
The amygdala, okay.
The human brain evolved in a really harsh prehistoric environment where conserving calories was literally a matter of life and death.
Right, you couldn't just waste energy.
Exactly. Doing something entirely new and massive burns a lot of calories, and it introduces a lot of unpredictability. And to your primitive brain, unpredictable equals dangerous.
So the brain views sudden self-improvement as a literal threat to my survival.
From an evolutionary standpoint, yes.
That's wild.
When person A tries to overhaul their entire life overnight with the 5 a.m. cold plunge and the massive workout, the amygdala sounds the alarm.
It freaks out.
It does. It registers this massive sudden behavioral shift as severe uncertainty and danger. So it floods your body with resistance, stress hormones, and an overwhelming desire to go back to what is familiar.
Right.
Because familiar habits, even if they are making you miserable or unhealthy, they're predictable. And predictable means safe.
Man, that explains so much. The brain actively sabotages the 5 a.m. alarm because it thinks staying in bed is literally keeping us alive.
Precisely. But the 1% rule, like doing just 2 pages of reading or 5 push-ups, it's so incredibly small and requires so little energy that it slips right past the amygdala's threat detection system.
Oh, I see.
The alarm bells stay totally silent. The brain says, oh, just 5 push-ups. That doesn't threaten our calorie reserve. Fine, whatever.
We could do that.
Right. And by slipping past those biological defenses, you actually get to repeat the behavior. You get to walk the trail. You get to lay down the myelin.
And survival of the behavior over time is the entire game.
It is the only game. But the source material also demands we look at the dark side of this neurological math.
Yeah, the math of compounding.
Right. It works in both directions. Negative compounding is just as real as positive compounding.
Oof, yeah. The text hit incredibly hard on this point.
It really did. Because if the brain neutrally wires whatever behavior we repeat, skipping one workout was never actually the real issue.
Right, one workout doesn't matter.
Right. Skipping a workout doesn't ruin your cardiovascular health. But skipping the workout and then putting off the hard project at work the next morning and then avoiding the difficult conversation with your partner the day after that, you are handing the brain undeniable evidence.
You're carving the wrong trail.
Exactly.
Okay.
You are physically teaching your brain that avoidance and retreat is simply how you operate in the world.
Wow. So if we are constantly building these patterns, whether we want to or not, we aren't just changing what we do, we are fundamentally changing how we define ourselves.
Yes.
Which leads us to maybe the most profound shift in this entire document, the shift from chasing future goals to building present moment identity.
It is a crucial difference. It's the difference between the future and the present tense.
Right.
A goal lives perpetually in the future. Like, I want to run a half marathon next year.
Yeah.
But an identity is right now. It is who you believe you are at this exact second.
Right. The document says instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, you should stop and ask yourself right now, what would someone who trains consistently do today?
That's the question.
Instead of saying, I want to be confident, you ask, what would a confident person do in this exact conversation, sitting right here, right now?
And by framing it that way, the goal is no longer some abstract, overwhelming concept floating out there in the distance.
It brings it right into the room.
It becomes a highly manageable decision that is available to you in the next 10 minutes.
So what does this all mean? To me, it completely destroys the modern myth of motivation.
Oh, absolutely.
We're constantly taught to wait for the motivation to strike before we take action. Like, you need to feel inspired first. But the text gave me an idea for an analogy.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So relying on motivation is exactly like relying on the weather for your daily commute.
I like where this is going.
Think about it. The weather is completely unpredictable. If it's sunny and 75 degrees, great. You get to work easily. But motivation is just a biological mood.
Yeah.
It's the internal weather.
Yes.
It's heavily influenced by how much REM sleep you got, how much cortisol is in your system, or whether someone sent you like a passive-aggressive email at 8 in the morning.
It's so true.
If you rely on the weather to decide if you are going to drive to work, half the time you're going to be stuck at home because it's raining.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it. And if we build on that weather analogy, The 1% rule is really about building an all-weather vehicle.
Oh, an all-weather vehicle.
Yeah, because if you rely on the weather, you are at the mercy of environmental factors you simply cannot control. The people who actually change their lives, the ones who manifest real results, they do not possess superhuman motivation.
No.
What they possess is unremarkable, boring, ironclad consistency. They put snow tires on their car. They've stopped checking the internal weather report completely. Instead, they focus relentlessly on system and environment design.
The environment hacks mentioned in the text are so practical for building that all-weather vehicle.
They are. And they are entirely focused on removing friction.
Friction, yeah.
If you want to change, relying on sheer willpower is a mathematically terrible long-term strategy. Your environment is your strongest lever.
Give us some examples of that.
Well, if you want to read more books, do not put the book in a drawer across the room where you have to go get it. Leave it literally resting on your pillow so you have to physically move it to go to sleep.
Right, in your way.
Exactly. If you want to work out in the morning, lay the clothes out on the floor the night before so the decision is already made when your prefrontal cortex is groggy and tired.
Or, like, if you want to stop doom scrolling, take the social media apps completely off your home screen. Make yourself type in the password every single time. Make it annoying to find them.
Yes. You are systematically making the right action the path of least biological resistance and the wrong action high friction.
That makes total sense.
Which brings us full circle to how we should actually be using visualization, since we spent the beginning of this deep dive tearing down the traditional vision board.
Right, the whole trap of just picturing the finish line and getting that unearned dopamine rush.
Exactly. So what should a scientifically grounded person actually visualize?
Yeah, what's the alternative?
Don't picture the stadium stage or the dream apartment or the massive bank account that just tricks the brain into thinking the work is already done.
Okay.
Instead, visualize the difficult morning.
Ooh, visualize the pain.
Yeah. Close your eyes and vividly picture the alarm going off when you are totally exhausted, it's pitch dark outside, and motivation is absolutely nowhere to be found. And then visualize yourself throwing the covers off, getting out of bed, and doing the unglamorous, boring work anyway.
So you're mentally rehearsing the brutal process, not the shiny destination.
Because the daily process is the only place where neuroplastic transformation has ever actually happened in the history of the human brain.
Wow. This whole deep dive really reframes what success actually looks like in the real world. Like, the text talks about how when we see someone doing something extraordinary, you know, a musician filling a massive arena, or an Olympic athlete standing on a podium,
Right.
or a tech founder whose company just exploded in value overnight, we're only ever watching the final 90 seconds of a years-long biological process.
That's exactly it. We see the massive explosion. We don't see the miles of fuse that spent years quietly burning in the dark.
Yes. Like, we didn't see the 400 terrible off-key rehearsals in an empty, cold room. We didn't see the dark early mornings when they wanted to quit.
No, we never see that.
We didn't see the 11 completely failed versions of the software product that almost bankrupted them. We look at their success and we think it was magic or luck, or that they were just, I don't know, born fundamentally different than us.
But they weren't.
No. But what looks like a massive, insurmountable leap from the outside was actually thousands and thousands of tiny 1% repetitions. They were just stacked so quietly and so consistently that nobody paid attention to them until they compounded into an undeniable reality.
Because the transformation happens long, long before the external result is visible to the public.
Right.
When you start making that 1% choice, when you start holding yourself to a slightly different standard and tolerating just a little bit less of your own excuses,
Yep.
the internal biological shift has already occurred. The myelin is wrapping.
It's already happening.
Yes. The external result, the promotion, the fitness, the money, it is just the delayed echo of a microscopic change you made in your brain months or even years ago.
That is such an empowering, grounded way to look at human potential. Like, you don't have to wait for the result to know you're transforming. You don't have to feel like an imposter.
No.
Every action is information. Every single repetition is handing your brain undeniable evidence of who you are becoming.
Which is exactly why the ultimate call to action for you, the person listening to this deep dive right now, is to stop waiting.
Stop waiting for Monday.
Stop asking, when is my life finally going to change? Or when is the universe going to deliver this opportunity to me?
Right.
The universe isn't going to move first. Your brain needs the physical evidence. So the most powerful question you can ask yourself, starting today, is what is my 1% today?
Just 1%.
What tiny, almost embarrassing thing can I do today that proves my new identity?
And not tomorrow, not next Monday, today.
Because your brain's prediction engine is always listening, and it is always keeping score.
Man, that is powerful. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the science of manifestation, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Okay.
Something to really examine in your own daily routines, based on the neuroscience we've unpacked today. If our brain is truly just a neutral engine, an engine that simply learns and hardwires whatever behavior we feed it through repetition, what is the 1% negative choice that you are currently making on autopilot?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What is that tiny daily avoidance, that small digital distraction, or that minor excuse you keep quietly repeating to yourself that is slowly but surely manifesting a future you actively do not want?
It is a sobering but very necessary thought. The neuroplastic trail is being blazed either way. You are either clearing a path to your goals or you are clearing a path away from them.
It really is. Because remember, somewhere out there is a calmer, stronger, much more disciplined version of you.
And they are waiting.
Exactly. And they aren't waiting for a mystical miracle or a sudden burst of motivation. They're just waiting for you to make one tiny 1% decision today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.